Welcome to episode number 7 of the Castbar. We have the winner for the RG giveaway. And in addition, Blizzard apparently wants to turn over a new leaf of their own for 2015 as they remove the gloves and bring the banhammer crashing down on some big names. We break out the magnifying glass for Golden Warcraft, review a wintry battleground, and answer a few questions. Thank you, and enjoy. Welcome everybody to the Castbar, the World of Warcraft podcast channeling your content with no interrupts. Today is Sunday, December 28th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With me, as always, I have Evan.
Glad to be here.
And Florian.
Hey there.
Well, we have gotten out of the holidays, except for New Year's. How was your guys' Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever?
Whole lot of traveling for me, but I just got done making the round, so to speak, all over the central mid-Atlantic, and now I'm back at home.
And Florian, did Santa bring you everything you wanted?
Yeah, pretty much. I got to go home and see family, and that was pretty much the only thing I wanted, so I guess things panned out pretty well for me. What about you?
I did 2 Christmases, small one at home with my in-home family, and then I drove over to the other family, and we had a good time. It was a nice, relaxing day. And presents were awesome. I got a small little Android tablet, which I actually asked for because I wanted to try out Hearthstone on the Android tablet. Mm-hmm. And also because the price difference was ridiculous. I knew which tablet I was getting because I pointed it out. And for $40, I got a tablet that the screen is a little bit smaller than my iPad, but the tablet itself has twice the power of my iPad for 1/10 the price. Yeah, it's pretty sad that it works as well as it does. Other than that, it was just nice and relaxing. I only got Christmas off. I had to work both Christmas Eve and the day after, so it wasn't too bad, though. Friday was a very boring day. And then a present I bought for myself was a whole bunch of Hearthstone packs.
There you go, man. You're set to go then, aren't you?
Yeah, well, they have a new level that you can do. You can get 60 packs for $70, whereas before the best you get was 40 packs for $50. So I was like, whatever, and went out and bought the 60 packs. It was a good 60 packs. I was happy. I don't think that there's anything else I need to craft now. Like, now I can just start collecting the cards and making golden cards and stuff. So that was a nice little boost for me. So, do you guys have anything else exciting going on over the week?
No, not really. As far as Christmas loot and gifts and everything, the only thing that I got was WoW related was a new gaming mouse. I got the Razer, and I know a lot of people talk about Razer and you're paying for the brand name and everything like that, but the one that I got was the only mouse button setup that I thought was optimal. And I got the one that has a little bit of a hexagon pattern for your left thumb, 6 buttons you can hit that I can bind to my different abilities and everything. And I'm looking forward to setting that up. A lot of the other button layouts for those mouses or whatever were like a 12-button D-pad. I thought that would be too complicated to use on the run playing WoW.
The mouse I use is actually meant for first-person shooters. It's a Corsair Vengeance MX60. And I love this mouse. This mouse is great. It doesn't have a whole lot of buttons. It has one button on the side, big red button on the side. And what that button is normally for is in like first-person shooters, you'd press that button and you'd have it bound to your zoom. So when you want to look down the sights or the scope or whatever, you just push that button instead of having to push a button to zoom. It's on your mouse. Right. For WoW purposes, though, on every single one of my characters, that big red button on the side is my interrupt.
Oh, really? Yeah, there you go. You like to have that right at your fingertips, definitely.
Yep, whatever my kick is, whether it's kick, silence, rebuke, mind freeze, or whatever, brain freeze, mind chill, whatever the Death Knight one's called, counter shot, or just whatever my interrupt is, I just put that one on that button, because all the rest of them I don't care as much about.
Yeah, I play a lot of alts too, and Florian, I want to ask you if you do the same thing, where if you have a lot of those abilities that are kind of the analogs across the different classes, especially the interrupts. Do you have that bound to the same keybind on all your characters?
Yeah, I do that for common abilities like interrupts. I also like to do it for a lot of the oh crap buttons,
Yeah,
like your
big
emergency
defensive cooldowns.
CC, or those two, your survivability cooldowns.
Yeah.
I actually have my buttons bound so that I never have to reach past 6. So I have like 1 through 6, shift plus 1 through 6, alt plus 1 through 6, control 1 through 6, because I don't like trying to stretch my hand over to the other numbers. So like all of my shift buttons are generally, like Florian said, the defensive cooldowns or movement buttons. The control buttons are generally like extra abilities they're not necessarily permanent parts of rotation.
Right.
And then all of the alt abilities are generally just whatever else is extra.
Yeah. I love that all the, I've been waking up old alts, and over the years I've played an alt generally after there has been some kind of ability revamp. So I have a whole lot of experience with all my characters, remapping their abilities and figuring out what's useful and getting the rotation down, and then having a kind of priority system. I have the easy to access keybinds on the most common abilities, and then the harder to reach keybinds for the abilities that I want to be able to hit my fingers without clicking, but maybe not so, high priority. Definitely don't need the kind of knee-jerk reaction to get to those. But at any rate, I'm looking forward to setting up my keyboard or my new mouse with those 6 buttons right under my thumb, and I'm looking forward to having a little bit more flexibility there.
The only buttons I ever click are buttons that are really long that I might use very rarely. Like on my Shaman, Heroism is a button that, in order to hit its keybind, it would not be comfortable at all. I always just click it, though, because you only use Heroism once a fight.
Right, and you definitely don't want to accidentally hit it at the wrong time. For example, pulling trash.
As far away from my hands as possible.
Cool.
All right, though, we do have a little bit of news, so let's go ahead and move into there. Welcome to the news, everybody. There isn't anything extremely large going on in the world right now. Most people are just still trying to get their way through Heimall. But what we have had happen within the last week is that Blizzard has brought the ban hammer down on a couple of bigger names. Now, if you don't know who these people are, that's perfectly fine. You're not expected to. But the 2 most recent ones was 2 gentlemen, one by the name of Wreckful, and the other one by name of Sodah, Sodah. These are both people that are 2 of the most popular streamers on Twitch. They generally have anywhere from 20k to 50k viewers on good days, obviously on good days. And they're both PvP junkies. I mean, watching people, quest is not nearly as interesting unless the person is funny. But you have a lot of people that'll watch the streamers because of the PvP. And that's the only reason why, though. However, on their stream, you have to see that they were also doing a whole lot of account sharing and just other things that broke the terms of service. And then they got banned. Did you guys read anything on this?
I saw the news mentioned when the ban hammer was coming down, and there's a few threads on Reddit, especially that were making reference to that. I'm not familiar with these streamers. I don't really watch streams at all, but I was curious in the implications Blizzard enforcing its policies, and then the social media declarations, and the kind of social fallout of all the people who are agreeing and disagreeing with the decisions.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about it. I mean, because like the most recent time that Wreckful did an account share was that he's a PvPer. He's openly admitted that he doesn't level his own characters. He has a friend level his characters and stuff for him. But the thing that most people think that really stuck out the most was that he was PvPing and he had a whole bunch of people on the stream. He's like, I really want to try a Retribution Paladin because he just got wrecked by one. And someone's like, well, you can play mine. And so he just jumped onto their account and played their Ret Paladin. And then the other thing that he does, he advertises third-party software, which is not approved by Blizzard. The one that he was mostly speaking of is T-Morph, which is a program that allows you to change some of the visual effects for your side only. So, like, if you didn't want to pay for a character transfer, you can go get T-Morph and set it up so that all your characters will look like a night elf or whatever. And then they're like, you can change your spell effects and stuff, too. And it's against Blizzard Terms of Service, because it's technically changing around the code. And he would openly be like, never pay for a character change again, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you're just asking for trouble. And then, of course, he gets banned.
Right.
The thing is, though, on this is, like, because, honestly, both of those offenses aren't the biggest that you could probably think of. Like, when I think of, like, bannable offenses, I don't think of trying out some dude's paladin on a different account.
Right. I think of botting, I think of exploits, I think of scams.
Selling gold.
Yeah.
And the T-Morph thing, like, Blizzard has said that it's not that big of a deal for people to use T-Morph because it's not giving you an advantage in any way. It's not truly hurting anybody because you still look this. Whatever your character is supposed to look like, that's what you look like to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only on your side. But there is this outcry on this because, in some ways these aren't that big of offenses. And Blizzard straight up gave both of them permanent bans. Like, not like temporary bans or, appeal and get your account. Because I've had my account banned, but I got my account banned because I got my account stolen. And then my account got banned because it was trying to sell gold. But then I was like, hey, I don't live in China. Can I have my account back? And they went, yeah, sure. All yours. You should put an authenticator on it. But I think what this really is that they're trying to send a message. Because there's people arguing from both sides. They broke the rules, they get in trouble, simple as that. And then there's the side of, the rules that they broke weren't that bad, and they didn't get warned for it. Why are they being punished this severely?
Well, do we know for a fact they didn't get warned for it?
Both of them say they didn't. I mean, Blizzard isn't going to, like, feed the trolls, essentially, and open up their email accounts or whatever it is, their communication center, and find the message that they sent him saying, hey, you're doing bad things, stop it. So, I mean, it's really a he said, she said type thing, but the thing that people forget is that Blizzard owns everything. You do not own your account. Your account is still part of Blizzard's intellectual property, which they are allowed to do whatever they want with. You are paying to use the account and paying to reserve it for your use only. You are not, you in no way own it. It is yours because you pay to reserve it.
That's a little counterintuitive, too. If I have, I understand the liability and everything and why they'd want to have those kind of legal precedents in place. But when I log on every day, that's my character, that's my account, and I kind of assume ownership, at least, unofficially. Else I wouldn't feel so attached to my accomplishments and my characters and my guild and everything if I didn't feel like they were mine. So that's a little bit counterintuitive to how I and a lot of other people probably play this game.
Oh, no, definitely. And that's the thing that Blizzard really kind of has, because that Blizzard has to recognize that as keeping people happy, because they do have to respect you as a customer so that you don't just be like, well, this isn't actually mine. Why? I'm done. Goodbye. So, that's why even if you don't play for 6 years, they still reserve all of your stuff. No one gets to play on your account because you left or anything like that. The worst that might happen is someone might take one of your character's names. But they, as a company, to respect their customers, don't allow people to just, take over people's accounts once they're inactive.
Right. So it's maybe just a technicality there, just for the purposes of
it's more of a safety
enforcing
net.
Roles like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a safety net, really.
Especially when it gets down to people selling characters and selling accounts to one another, they're trying to say you can't sell your character to your friend because it isn't technically your character, and that's the technicality behind that law.
Well, and you can talk to Blizzard, and depending on situations, you can really they'll work. Blizzard really tries to work with you, But there's just some things that they just won't allow and some things that they just say no to. I mean, I have a friend who has 3 level 85 characters because he quit right after Cataclysm launched, and he has openly said he will never play again. Now, some people say that, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to play anymore. But I don't have a Warlock, I don't have a Warrior, and he has both of those. And so we both got on the phone with Blizzard at the same time, same phone, and we were talking to him about, is it possible for his WoW account to just be, like, linked to mine? So that I'll pay for his subscription, and then I'll pay to move his characters over to my account. And they went, yeah, no, we can't do that, sorry.
Well,
I think we were trying to do that within the rules, because if you don't have the same last name on the account, then it won't let you link them.
There's no way that they could have verified that you weren't paying him $20, $30, $50, $200 for those characters.
And that was why they said no. And this was back when you could actually call Blizzard and talk to them instead of have them call you. I mean, and we talked to them for a while, and they're like, I understand, I'm sorry, but sorry, you can't. And we're like, okay, fine. I'll just level my own warrior.
And I think they're trying to kind of combat the desire and the appeal of buying accounts and buying characters, like we were talking about last week with how hard it was to level up in the Burning Crusade and Classic WoW and why people were switching accounts, this and that. They're trying to reduce the value of a max level character by making it easy to level up. I mean, if you want your Warlock, it doesn't take too much, time. And if you don't have the time, damn, you can buy a level boost, for God's sake,
Mm-hmm.
So that climate has kind of changed now compared to back in olden days.
What about you, Florian? You're sitting over there very quietly. What's your opinion on all this small offense, big punishment?
Well, I think the main reason that these guys have gotten such a big punishment over what is realistically a very small offense is simply because of how visible they are. The fact is, if Blizzard has a terms of service, they have set rules, and if they publicly let streamers that are being watched by thousands or tens of thousands of people break those rules, and they don't do anything about it, it undermines the entire system. All of the rules might as well just go out the window. And while I'm sure there are some people that account share, I'm sure within families a lot of people play on the same account simply because it's cheaper to buy one account for several people. But the simple fact is that while it happens, and while I'm sure Blizzard doesn't mind it that much, it undermines the entire rule system, the entire EULA, if somebody can publicly flaunt that they are breaking the rules and receive absolutely no punishment. So I think Blizzard kind of had to come down a little hard just to make an example of it, especially with the fact that, as you said, he's been advertising this add-on, what was it, T-Morph?
I don't know if it's an add-on, it's just a program.
Well, yeah, it's probably a little more than an add-on, actually, now that you mention it. But since he's been promoting that already, it shows that he has a pattern of flagrantly disregarding the rules that Blizzard set forth. So if he's consistently made a point of publicly flaunting the rules, you have to bring down the hammer on him, and this is the best way to do that.
Well, and the thing is, though, is that Blizzard has said that they can't use a stream as evidence for breaking the rules, which I'm not sure why they can't, especially with Twitch, you can save a whole bunch of your videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of assumed they were using the stream as evidence, but then again, do they need evidence? I guess honestly, when you think about it, if somebody said, hey, you can play my Ret Paladin, they can track and see what IP address, what's the geographic location of this account login, and then a second later, they're across the world. That person obviously didn't teleport there,
Right. I mean, and that's the thing, that Blizzard has their own ways for doing it, and Blizzard could do whatever they wanted, technically. Depending on how they did it, they might lose people. And that's one of the things that people are really because Reckful, he has a very impressive resume, I guess would be the best way to say it. For the first 8 seasons of Warcraft PvP, he was number 1. The whole ranking system or whatever, he was number 1 8 seasons in a row. And then, he lost number 9, and then he got 10, 11, and 12. Like, the dude is really good at PvP, but he just broke rules and got punished for it. And now he loses all of that, those titles, what it mounts, whatever else is all involved with all of that across the years. And now he loses all of that. And some people are like, you are really punishing someone much too harshly for something that you could have just made him, like, openly apologize for.
Oh, yeah, but what if all of his victories were due to account sharing to begin with? And, this and that. The whole account's been sullied because he's been breaking the rules. It's not like you can go back and say, oh, well, all of his victories and all the titles and mounts that he won were legitimate because, maybe they weren't legitimate at this point.
Well, in a way, they weren't, because he's openly admitted that he's never leveled his own character before.
Exactly.
That he always had someone else do it for him.
So, if you want somebody who's a all-star, winning titles, this and that, top of the line player, they're kind of like idolized by a lot of the WoW community, especially if you have this many subscribers to your channel. Blizzard can't just let him apologize and get on with it. That would be kind of special treatment, honestly. And what kind of message is that going to send to everybody who looks up to him?
Understandable. And, like, in other games, it's getting pretty bad, too. I mean, in League of Legends, the people that are doing things that are against terms of service and stuff like that, they're not even just getting their accounts banned, which in League, getting your account banned is, like, not really that big of a deal unless you spent money on things that you didn't need to spend money on. But they're also, like, the teams themselves that are breaking the terms of service are getting, like, $50,000 fines and stuff like that, and that would not be okay for someone like Wreckful. I mean, he might make some money off of his Twitch account, but I don't know if he could handle a $50K fine.
Yeah, that'd be a little bit real, for the situation.
Right. And then, it's like, well, what about all the botters and stuff like that? And Blizzard catches a ton of them, but in reality is they can't tell people that they can't make accounts, and then people just make accounts, and especially now with the character boost, they just boost whatever it is they need, and then have whatever that is go bot things for them.
Yeah, I feel bad for a lot of the botting that happens in foreign countries, maybe in the United States, is the result of stolen credit card information just from random people, not even WoW players, starting new accounts, boosting characters, racking up all those charges, and then getting your jollies off or doing whatever you can to support your botting business or farming business. And Blizzard's opening Pandora's box with the character boosting. In that respect, they're having some unintended or perhaps unavoidable fault or consequences from that support the botting industry.
And that could just be brought even larger open with what we talked about last week with the game time tokens.
True.
But all in all, like, what is your actual final opinion on this, Evan? Do you think this is too harsh for him, or do you think this is appropriate?
Well, sitting on my high horse over here, from your description of the events and what these people were like and how they were on their channels, I'm thinking that they were a little bit haughty. Yeah, they felt like they were big shots. I mean, especially if you have a pedigree like numerous Season 1 wins. I mean, the attitude kind of sets them up for this kind of attention, and I agree with Blizzard's decision to give him the ban hammer and take him out of the picture. And if they really want to play, if they really respect the game, then they'll keep playing somehow. Hopefully they'll have a different attitude after this. If they say, oh, forget you, Blizzard, this is unfair, I'm just going to go play something else, then good riddance.
Well, in reality, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard for someone like Wreckful to reset. He only plays a rogue, really. That's the only thing he plays. So you get a new account, you boost a rogue, you spend 5 hours leveling it up to 100, spend a week getting gear for it in PvP, which is about as long as it takes thanks to, like, the lockboxes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're back. Sure, you don't have everything that was on that other account, but you could still do what you were doing and still maintain your Twitch channel.
If you're playing for the love of the game.
Sure. And Florian, what about you?
I still think it's reasonably fair. I mean, was it a harsh punishment? Yes, but given the circumstances, I still think what Blizzard did was in the right. And even if he could easily just turn around, get a new account, and come back into the game, the simple fact is it's more than just losing an account. It's I don't know how it is for you guys or how it is for a lot of players, but I'm kind of attached to my characters. I've been playing some of them for a very, very long time, and losing them would be not just purely the loss of the character and the individual numbers and items that make up that character, but it would be sort of a loss of something with sentimental value.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it actually, taking someone's account really does hit harder than purely just something they can easily replace, if that makes any sense.
Right. And I'm kind of in the same bucket. Like, I would be super sad if my account got banned, but that's why I don't do things that can get me banned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't necessarily have anything that is completely unattainable anymore. Like, I think I have a couple mounts, like the Scroll of Resurrection Griffin. But for the most part, I mean, I wouldn't truly be losing anything besides the time I've put in. But like Florian said, I'm attached to my characters. I just don't break the rules because I don't want that to happen. But I'm also not somebody who has had this reputation and is making money off of playing the game and has this huge following on a stream. So, you know, I might be this arrogant, hot-headed person if that was me. But I'm not. So, anyway, let's stop beating a dead horse. Probably should have just went with the fanfare first. The only other piece of news we have is our RG giveaway is completed. If you did not get your entry in by December 25th, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. We didn't have any that came in after that. We had a total of about 25 entries, which, you know, for what all I consider with how new we are and all that kind of stuff and trying to get the publicity out there, I consider that pretty good. So, yeah, awesome to us. Thank you. That was great, everybody that came in. And due to the numbers, we are only giving away one RG pet. If you're curious the way I did it, I put everyone's name with as many entries as they had as into a spreadsheet. So if you had 5 entries, your name went onto the spreadsheet 5 times. And then I had a random number generator pick me a number between the number of entries we had, reference that number with the slot in the grid on the spreadsheet, and that's our winner. Our winner for the RG giveaway is, and I am so sorry if I mispronounce your last name because I am bad at this, Steve Giacolini? Giacolini?
That sounds Italian.
It's probably Italian, but I am bad at Italian.
Steve Giacolini.
So congratulations, sir! I wish that was much... Is this one better? Yeah, that one's better.
Oh, yeah. Woohoo!
So the submission that you sent in was your email submission. So if you'd please email us with the email that your BattleNet is linked to, so that I can send you the pet. Thank you. Words. You have 1 week. So this was technically an announcement episode. So I hope you were listening to this episode. And we'll also put it up on our Twitter and Facebook of who won, so hopefully you see it in one of those places. If we don't hear from you by next Sunday, I'm going to pick somebody else. I'm sorry. That's just the way that this is going to have to work. So thank you, everybody, for entering. We'll probably do this again. I had fun with this, especially with like the questions during the show. If you have any feedback on the giveaway or anything like that, please let us know. Anything we can do to do anything better is so helpful because feedback is what allows all of us to change the show to be something that makes it better for you. Even if you're just saying it's good, thank you. If you're saying it's bad, please let me know why, so that we can figure out how to fix it. Yeah, so Steve, Mr. Steve, please please let us know how we can get a hold of you to give you this gift. I have one last piece, and it's not technically news, and I just threw the pen that I've been playing with completely across the room. I own the domain for thecastbar.com. Unfortunately, I have been trying to figure out how to set up said website, and I am really bad at it. Really, really bad at it. If you have or know anybody that wants to do a little bit of just like work I just need a simple website. I am very inept at this apparently, and if you want to get your name out there a little bit, I realize we're not going to be a big promotion for you or anything like that in types of people who, you can stick your name onto, but I would appreciate it. And if you just, I know some people that are able to do this with their eyes closed just because they've done it before. They don't even go to school for it, but I need help. So if you were interested in doing a small amount of web development, just setting this up and maybe showing me how it works, I am currently, the hosting service I use is DreamHost. If you have any information that can help me, or if you want to just help me get this set up, please let us know, because I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it, because I keep trying and I am bad. So just let me know, or let one of your friends know that I'm looking, and thank you so much. Moving into a closer look.
Don't make us deal with Michael's crappy website. Oh, God.
Rude! Don't go and look at it. It's bad. In fact, I think the word test is on there about 16 times. Welcome to A Closer Look. A Closer Look is a small section that we do of where we try and go into a little bit more detail on something in the wonderful game that we love. Whether it's a feature, it could be how a Death Knight beats a Druid in PvP. That's not a problem right now. Or just whatever it is that we might choose. It can be all kinds of different stuff. Just whatever it ends up being. It could be maybe a guide on something. Who knows? It's just whatever we think. It's not necessarily news. It's just something that is interesting that we think we should take a closer look at. And this week we're going to be taking a closer look at gold. Not necessarily just gold, but gold, silver, and copper currency in Warcraft, and how it's changed over the years, and what it used to mean and what it means now, and how much you might need, where you can get it, stuff like that. Because gold is on base how we do everything in this game. I mean, gold is what you buy everything that doesn't take a token for, pretty much, right? Yeah, right. All right. Silence means yes, right? All right. So, Evan, you've played the longest, right?
I believe so.
Because I tried this game in BC, actually started in Wrath. Florian started in BC, and you're from Vanilla, right?
Yeah, I started playing the last week of open beta before release back in 2004.
Right on.
If I got my dates right.
So, I remember the Trials of Gold during Wrath. Florian might have a little bit more information on BC, but I remember, I've been told and have been given stories of the nightmare of what gold was 10 years ago.
Right. As a little bit of a taste, I have this one memory. I was in high school. I've been playing WoW for a couple days or weeks. I had a Night Elf Hunter in Darkshore, level 14 maybe. And I was explaining the game to my friend who played Lineage 2 at the time, and we were hanging out in Spanish class, and he was like, "How much gold do you have on your character? How much money?" I said, I've got like 14 silver. And he's like, "Is that a lot?" And I said,
Define a lot.
I didn't really have anything to judge it with. I didn't really buy anything in the auction house. I had never visited the auction house because there wasn't an auction house in Darnassus at that time. I'd never really traded anything with any other players at that point. I mean, this is when I was a little baby in the game, So at that point, no, I had no idea how much was a lot of gold. I felt like my 14 silver was, pretty hefty. If I wanted to get a recurve bow, I could do that, But I was just focused on doing my leatherworking and doing some little bit of questing,
Well, and so many more things would cost you money back then, because now we don't have to pay for our recipes anymore for our professions. Our skills and our abilities are just automatically learned. I mean, because I remember in Wrath of the Lich King, for incidentally, those that you don't remember or weren't playing at the time, back before Cataclysm, your abilities had ranks. So, Priest, Shadow Word, Pain, there was level 1, level 2, or was it levels or ranks? I don't know.
Ranks, yeah.
Rank 3, rank 4, rank 5, and each one, you could use any of them, by the way. So you could use a lower rank, and it would be less effective, but cost less mana. But
right.
All of these ranks would cost money. And I remember not having enough money in Wrath to buy my skills.
Right. Yeah, this is a lot worse for me in Final Fantasy XI when I hit level 22 on my Black Mage and couldn't buy my next rank of Stone or whatever. Wow, I was like way off, like thousands of gil off away from this thing. I never had it that bad in World of Warcraft. Of course, the biggest gold hurdle in Classic WoW was getting your mount. And very, very few people, upon reaching level 60, had enough gold to buy the level 60 epic mount. Very few indeed. You had to really get lucky and drop a random world epic, those glowing Brightwood staff, or the Mine Carver, like one of these big purple weapons that you could sell in the auction house to make the gold. And that's how a lot of people did it if they weren't religiously farming Essence of Water or whatever.
Well, I know a lot of people just didn't get them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a possibility. It seems like eventually you would just passively generate enough gold, or the fact that the epic mounts were so, I guess, elite looking or lucrative to get because you had to run everywhere in the game anyway, that eventually almost everybody, I would think, would just be driven so hard to try to get the gold any way they could.
I just imagine that was really, like, I don't know from personal experience, but I mean, I know that raiding was not something that was easy, and you were pretty fortunate if you did get to raid. And, 40-man raid, one boss drops, 3 to 5 pieces of gear, so you might get one. And he doesn't drop that much money. I mean, he drops, maybe a gold for you to split between 40 people. And then that gear, if you do get it, and if you are able to sell it, it's only worth, 3-5 gold.
Right. A lot of big gold income streams for guilds was selling the tier 1 BOE pieces. I think the belts and the bracers of like the tier 1 sets often went on the auction house to generate money for the guilds. Guilds that I was in used to do random giveaways for epic mounts to their players, which was, I mean, you don't see any guilds right now doing a giveaway for epic mounts. I mean, that would just be silly. But back in the day, that was a really high dollar item that you'd be really lucky to have financed for you.
Right. Well, and there's stuff that they can give away now that's different. I mean, they can just do straight up gold giveaways, which essentially is what that epic mount is, just a, gold giveaway. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the difference between then and now, I mean, giving away an epic mount then, what was it for epic? 1,000 gold, is that what you said?
Yeah, I think with reputation it was 900.
Whereas now, I mean, if you're going to give away something prestigious like that, you're giving them 100,000 gold so that they can buy the yak or something like that.
Right, whereas the 100% bonus speed epic mount in Classic WoW was the high dollar item that advertised other people that you were really serious about your gold farming and really rich. Now you have that Grand Expedition mount, the epic yak. Those are serving as the kind of the status symbols these days.
Well, and even then, they're so minuscule compared to the gold that some people have. Like, really, the elite sign that you have gold now is things from the black market auction house. Some people, and that's the thing that's hard to tell sometimes, the people that have bought this stuff from the black market auction house or that actually still have tier 3 from original Naxxramas.
Right, that's a little bit harder because I wouldn't recognize tier 3 if somebody walked in came and ganked me in it,
There's a couple of them that are very recognizable, and they're generally the ones that are highly sought after. And like the black market auction house, it's pretty easy to recognize because depending on what it is, because like if you see a Death Knight wearing the Dreadnought pauldrons, which is the blue skulls from Warrior Tier 3, then it has to be black market. And then like the Paladin Judgment set, which had the big silver spikes coming off of the shoulders that kind of looked like wings, that's pretty standout. And at what point would you say that gold really started to change? Cataclysm? That's when I noticed, but that's because, I mean, I started in Wrath, and going into Cataclysm, though, like, gold seemed to be so much more abundant as soon as that expansion hit. And then Miss Pandaria made it worse, and now, like, gold is just, like, everywhere in Warlords.
I think gold is really taking a step up every single expansion. It's been kind of like a staircase as far as availability. but kind of like the equipment in the level or the amount of damage we're doing that Blizzard recently squished for us, I don't think the gold levels were changed at all, and I think it's been a little bit more of a steady climb. It isn't necessarily exponential, like you might expect, or like the damage is getting to be a little bit ridiculous because we don't have that. The way gold operates doesn't really interact with raid tiers at all, which is how gear got kind of out of hand. But I think it's been kind of a steady climb every expansion that hasn't gotten out of hand, I don't think.
Well, and like this, the things that I've noticed that have really contributed to it is that like quests give more gold now. Like back, in the earlier times and stuff, you didn't get 10 gold from a quest. That would have been a ridiculous quest.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like gear is worth so much more in terms of gold. I mean, you can go, farm a old raid and walk out with, a couple hundred gold worth of gear, if not more. I mean, it's like even now, like quest items. I mean, if all the gold was still all the gold was only worth 5 gold. If all of the items at max were still only worth 5 gold, so if a Warlords of Draenor epic was worth essentially the same amount as a Molten Core epic, and if quests hadn't started rendering, is that the right word?
Reward.
Thank you for more rewarding more gold. Then I think we wouldn't have ran into this problem because like I was running quests on my Death Knight and I have the BOA Garrosh's axe thing, and so I don't need weapons. And if when they try and reward me a weapon, it's like there's a 2-handed weapon right there. I don't want a transmog, but it sells for 58 gold.
Right.
And I'm like, well, and they're also giving me 30 for completing the quest. And it's not like the end of the quest line quest either. It's just, this is quest number 22.
Right.
I mean, so from one quest, I almost got 100 gold. And there's so many quests in Warlords. By no means bad thing, but I am just like swimming in gold. To the point that besides those prestigious items, it feels meaningless.
So you think that we need more? I mean, how do you feel like gold sinks in general, translating to like a big kind of status symbol? For example, I mean, the Expedition mount is the biggest thing that comes to mind. It's a big, giant mount. Everybody knows it when you hop on. It's got, the vendors on the back, and everybody knows it costs a lot of gold. Do you think we need more examples of that, or is it at a good place right now?
For the most part, I don't like gold sinks. And the reason why is things like that Expedition yak I find to be very cool. I would like to have that yak. Do I have 100,000 gold? No. I have 20, which is very significant, but I don't have 100,000. And getting 100,000 would require a bit of effort. Like, I feel rich right now. Besides buying things like that yak, I would not know what to do with 100,000 gold. Because readily in the game, there's nothing that needs it. And so, like, the thing is, though, is that they have these gold sinks, essentially, these cool mounts or the black market auction house or whatever, but they sell really cool things that people that don't have 1,000,000 gold might want. And it's for that reason that I don't like them. Because it makes it to where those things are very exclusive to the people that either got lucky or put, like, know how to roll the auction house, which isn't everybody's game. I mean, some people would like to just play the game, but they are cut off from being able to get these more exclusive items that are simply gold sinks.
Right. Well, I'm not sure, but I want to give Florian a chance to weigh in so I can collect my thoughts on the whole thing.
In general, I feel like gold hasn't become worthless in the way that you've been describing. And when I say worthless, I mean, you said earlier you wouldn't know what to do with 100,000 gold. I feel like with Warlords, we actually have more items to spend the gold on. For example, The Savage Blood is incredibly expensive on the Action House, as are upgrade materials for crafted gear, which is in and of itself valuable for alts and for gearing up alts. That stuff also has very high prices. I'm in a position right now where even though we have more gold dropping than ever before, I'm still struggling to keep up enough gold to buy all the things that I want to equip my alts properly. So I think right now we're still in a good position as far as the value of gold goes compared to the things that you can buy with gold. And it's become, I think Blizzard is trying to push it where it's less that it's less that the value of gold comes from items you can buy with a gold sink, and more of the value comes from things you can buy in terms of crafted items and things other players can make that you can buy on the market.
Right.
I think that is only something that can be said for, unless professions continue to expand. So, like the way that they did in Miss Pandaria, where they came out with the 553 crafted epics. Unless we run into more things like that, I mean, the market for these 640 epics is gonna just die, especially once we hit like Blackrock Foundry. I mean, already the market for them is crashing very hard because LFR gives item level 640. And item level for Blackrock Foundry is going to give item level like 650. And LFR is by no means difficult. And it's rather quick. So, I mean, that gear is going to be worth so little in very short amount of time.
Yeah, so here's my experience being absent, and Michael could probably echo me on this, being absent for most of Miss Pandaria and coming back for Siege of Orgrimmar. I was doing Miss Pandaria up until Throne of Thunder released. I never raided Throne of Thunder. I did raid Mogashan Vaults in the Heart of Fear. I came back with the Siege of Orgrimmar and I made a Death Knight and boosted him up because my Warlords pre-order and gave him blacksmithing. And I said, hey, I want to make a cool blacksmithing weapon because I had my 483 Heart Legion sword from the boost. I wanted something better. You can't get a weapon on Timeless Isle except for that 489 two-hander that cost 20,000 Timeless coins. Yeah. So I was like, what can I make with blacksmithing? There were some really awesome Throne of Thunder level blacksmithing weapons that you had to unfortunately do this really horrible time gated gather all the thunderstones and upgrade them from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, and they had I'm talking about, they had the old
reborn items.
Yeah, the Lion's Hearts were reborn, that kind of thing. Exactly. I said these are really cool. Unfortunately, they were gated behind 4 to 6 weeks of work and waiting on cooldowns, and they weren't even that great as far as item level. I didn't have anything to do except for go into the Throne of Thunder raid finder, get the 502, and then get my item level enough to up high enough to get into Siege of Orgrimmar raid finder. So I mean, yeah, the crafting became obsolete towards the end of the expansion, except for the belt and the pants that all the professions could make. The 5 or the 4, I can't remember the item levels now, but the Siege of Orgrimmar normal raid mode equivalent pieces of gear that you had to spend your cooldowns every day trying to discover. That was the pain. But that's what it was kind of reduced to. The last raid tier was 2 items you could make with every profession, and all the other stuff that you could make throughout the entire expansion were just obsolete. And I'm looking at the items we can make now, the 640 levels, 3-stage armor and the weapons and everything. Are they going to let us do a stage 4 or a stage 5? I imagine they would, to let us maintain the relevance. But if you came in at the end of this expansion's rating tier, you would have to get 100 Savage Bloods and spend 100 or 200,000 gold just to level it up. Not to mention making all the true steel ingots, in my case the blacksmithing, would require weeks just to catch up with one piece of armor in a slot. I mean, it benefits us if we're playing every day and doing all our cooldowns each week, but it doesn't benefit anybody who wants to catch up a few months from now.
Well, and like even now, I'll see those on the auction house, and I'm just like the maximum upgraded ones, they're on the auction house, and they're normally going for anywhere from 80 to 100,000 gold right now, because that's what it costs in terms of like Savage Blood and time and all of that. But I'll look at it and it's like max upgrade and it's like 655, 660, 665, whatever it ends up being. Mm-hmm. And that's what normal high mall drops. Like, I realize that that's a weapon you can get now, but at the same time, like, I mean, I've got a 645 weapon from my follower missions.
Right.
I mean, and it was Warforged, so it's 651.
Same here. Yeah, that's really good luck, right?
And it's like, the weapon that I got for doing essentially not a whole lot of anything is worth equivalent of 60,000 gold right now. I don't see anyone, like, I wouldn't pay that because I could, if you're buying it to do something with it. What you're probably doing with it is raiding. You can easily get by with a 630 from Heroic, 636 if you get a Warforged one, or even a 645 from your follower missions. Those will easily get you by well enough to get into a normal raid until you can get another weapon from there. Like, that's how it worked in Mists of Pandaria, especially north of the end. You'd get into, you get Timeless Gear to get 496. 496 let you into LFR SOO. You got up to about 525, 530, so you could get into Flex. Flex took you into Normal. Normal took you into Heroic. You had to do the same content over and over and over again, which a lot of people hated, but it was still a way to get there.
Right, and a lot of people do hate that, and a lot of people like to kind of buy out of a system that they don't have the time or the patience or the interest in repeating over and over again, especially people with really bad luck that have epics in every slot except for their boots, and they're more than willing to spend 100, 120k on a pair of boots that are upgraded so they don't have to fight the random number generator for weeks and weeks and face that disappointment. And yeah, it says marginal upgrade if you have the 636 Heroic Dungeon Warforged boots in there, but these guilds that are pushing progression, I mean, I think everybody probably knows, has given it any thought, that the people who are spending the top dollar for the flasks and the high level enchants are people who are pushing raid progression. That's what's important to them, and they want every stat point they get their hands on.
I guess I'm just too sensible to look at it that way, because I'm like, oh god, you could just wait a week, like you.
Especially if they have any kind of luck at the auction house, so they use their mobile app to make some gold during work and have 300 or 400k. Some people, I think, quite a number of people have at least that much gold these days. Even if people like you and I never really, generate much more gold than we're spending, and kind of hover around 10, 20k. Because I'm in that boat too.
Well, and that's like, I got out of the salvage crate a 665 BOE plate helm. I was excited because I knew that I either had a good piece of gear for an alt, or I could sell it. And I ended up selling it for 30,000 gold, so that put me up to about 55,000. And then I bought something that I had always wanted, and that was a Vial of the Sands.
Oh, nice.
So I can now turn into a Sandstone Drake, and I'm really happy now. Like, I personally don't really want the yak in comparison to my what we were discussing earlier. I don't really want the yak. I have the Traveler's Tundra Mammoth. That works perfectly fine for me for a vendor mount. And that one was only, I think I paid like 9,000 for it after rep and all of that. But now, like, the only other things that I would want are things so completely out of my budget ever that I should just write them off as just things that I'll never have. I mean, and that's like things that generally come from places like the black market auction house, or things that are on the auction house for like 200,000 to 300,000 gold. I'm not going to have that.
Yeah, I'm not sure this expansion really released a whole lot of new avenues for making gold. Like, you can sell more bind and equip raid level gear than you could ever sell before without any investment of money with the garrison mine and everything. The follower missions with level 3 in especially, it doesn't seem like much getting 75 or 100 gold per mission, but if you do all of those missions, then that's a couple thousand gold a week, honestly. And those are two new methods of making gold, much less, or not even counting the old methods of making gold, which are the gathering professions. Skinning seems like it's one of the best or only ones available these days with the herb garden and all that. Yeah, but with more people with more gold than ever before, I think the auction house is a more lucrative way of making money than ever before as well.
I suppose. I just don't like it.
You have the power within you, Michael. It's just there are a lot of resources out there for making gold. I mean, we have a subreddit devoted entirely to making gold. If you can sift through there, I think a lot of that advice on the subreddit, which is our WoW economy, I believe. Mm-hmm. A lot of that advice is pretty much get this add-on, get that add-on. They scan your auction house on your server. It tells you on a mouse over how much that thing in your pack is worth. I know a lot of stuff that drops out of my salvage crates is just BOE greens from all sorts of expansions, a couple of bind and equip epics that are low level, but I'm assuming some people use for transmogs. I mean, I just vendor them, honestly. If it's a BOE epic, maybe I try to sell it, but I think that a lot of people who are in my shoes, if they had that add-on, would be able to turn around a whole lot of that gold if they realize that something is worth a whole lot more than they're giving credit for.
I suppose. I still don't like it.
I know
I don't like money in the real world, let alone in my fake world. Like,
right.
I'm just like, oh man, I'm working on buying a house. I hate money. Like, car payments do. I hate money.
What about you, Florian? Are you a little bit more pragmatic than me and Michael?
He hates
I can't
money.
really say so. I'm not particularly excited about it myself as a person who is constantly broke, but yeah, like I can understand how it's great for the people who have money, and it rewards them for playing the auction house and being smart dudes with their gold. But I'm just not a fan of it since I'm the guy who seems to get stepped on all the time.
In any case, Evan, how much gold relatively do you think a person would need in Warcraft? Now, like, my initial take on this is that you should probably have, like, personally, one of my things that I will never not buy is, like, the 280 flying.
Right.
Because 150 flying is so slow.
Right.
And that costs, what, 5K?
Yes, I believe so.
So, what do you think if somebody hadn't spent any money on anything, magically, what do you think is a good ballpark number for them to be at comfortably?
Well, it really depends on what that person would consider important to buy. If you never spend your money on anything, and you never buy anything off the auction house, or you never buy and equip gear from the auction house or other players, and you're self-sufficient, then really you just need enough money for repairs. And as long as you sell your vendor gray loot, I don't think you don't need any gold at all. I mean, I would probably, if I convince myself not to buy anything from any other player ever, I probably want 1,000 gold, just so I have enough to cover those 200, 300 gold repair bills when I'm doing raid nights. To be honest, no more. You know, I don't have anything to spend it on. Then that's my price there. But in my shoes, personally, I like to spend money on things like gear upgrade, Savage Blood, that kind of thing these days. Potions, odds and ends. If I'm trying to create specific items, especially old world stuff, it happens from time to time, and making a transmog set every once in a while. I like to have about 30,000 or so now in this expansion, and that's just because I got lucky with that bind and equip trinket on the first week of release and sold it for 70k. So I was up there. You know, it was more gold than I've ever had. Prior expansions, I've never had more than 10k on one character. You know. Mm-hmm. So I think that the Miss Pandaria 5 to 10k is about equivalent to the Warlords of Draenor 20 to 30k, honestly. And that's a comfortable amount for me to have as a kind of casual raider. I don't do PvP, and who prides himself on being pretty self-sufficient across alts as far as generating my own player-crafted goods.
Warren, what about you?
For the most of the time I've played WoW, I have been the exact guy that Evan described, who just doesn't buy anything off the auction house, doesn't buy things from other people, and is just sort of self-sufficient. And with that, I've found that for the majority of the time that I've played WoW and I've been that type of player, I haven't really had gold problems, simply because I don't have to grind a lot of gold, because I don't need a lot of gold, because I don't really buy things. But now that I'm going into Warlords for the first time, I'm starting to buy a lot of stuff, especially off the auction house with crafted gear and world drops and things like that I see that I want. And it's become more of a struggle now, and I think I'm only really comfortable now when I've got at least 20,000 gold sitting around, which in a previous expansion, if you had told me that I'd need 20,000 gold sitting in my pocket, I would have told you that's a ridiculously high number and no one needs that much. But things have changed as far as that goes now. And yeah, people just need to be keeping more around, and it's weird. It's really weird to me to say that you need to have 10 or 20,000 gold at any time, considering how difficult it used to be to get gold.
And I'm actually sitting in almost the exact same place. I feel really, really comfortable right now sitting at right around 20k. It's a very comfortable spot. I knew that if there's anything within relative range that I wanted to buy, I could. I could easily blow, half of it or a good portion of it for a rainy day on something. Like, I don't have a sky golem, so if one day I was like, I want a sky golem, and I just go and spend the 13k or whatever it is on a sky golem, then I could. If I ever was in if I, for some magical reason, I go, I'm completely out of flasks, I could easily just go buy some without having to worry about it. 20k is a great place for me to be sitting at, and I, for the most part, don't spend a whole lot of money. But at the same time, I don't make a whole lot of money either. Because the things that I do want are just completely out of my range of what I would want to try and aim for.
Right, and we don't have very many bills, so to speak, except for the repair bill on the vendors after dying a couple times. Just normal wear and tear and stuff, so that's only maintenance costs that we have to pay. And so I think a lot of players...
I am really dumb sometimes, and just really dumb sometimes.
And I'm a tank, too. I mean, if I die, the group usually lives, assuming it wasn't too bad of a mess-up. But, I can get a little bit crazy in the dungeons, especially just having fun and all that. Anyway, so my repair bill is pretty hefty. But what I'm thinking is that most people have a level of gold that they're pretty much comfortable with. And they will, just like your bank account, if you got your mobile banking app in real life, if you're kind of low, you hold off on some of those impulse purchases. If you're kind of high, then you go ahead and buy that Savage Blood because it dropped below 1,000 gold. And buy a couple of those.
And it's a quality of life thing. I mean, you don't need those Savage Bloods. You could get them other ways, but it just makes whatever you want to have happen just a little bit sooner.
Right.
And I think that's what most of the gold that anyone spends is like either an aesthetic thing, such as the mount, or it's just making something happen a little bit faster.
Exactly, and I think the theme in World of Draenor is avoiding those time gates. That's what the gold is helping you out doing.
Mm-hmm. Incidentally, strangely enough, though, like the BOP mats, they're, BOP. Which I found to be odd. True Steel, Hexweave Cloth, stuff like that. It's strange to me that we can't trade them.
Well, we had that in Miss Pandaria with the hard and magnificent hides and the balanced balanced trillium ingot. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah, the crafting professions that were making that item level 5. I can't remember. Florian, were you doing any crafting in Siege of Orgrimmar?
None whatsoever.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, my characters were
crazy guy.
Herb Alk and mining jewel crafting, so I I didn't do any of that.
Oh, yeah. Hold on, I can figure this out.
I'm gonna cut out all of this silence.
Okay, so item level 553, which was normal mode, which is now considered, I don't want to translate the old modes from the new modes, but item level 553 gear which was normal, the first mode after flex, was craftable by all the professions, tailoring, blacksmithing, and leatherworking. And there was a pair of pants and a belt available for every spec, and they used these bind on pickup daily cooldown reagents, and the belt costs 21 of these daily cooldowns. The pants cost 28 of these daily cooldowns, regardless of the profession.
So you could 3 weeks and 4 weeks,
4 weeks, yeah. But you could bypass the cooldown through this disenchanting material, these blood spirits or spirits of war that would drop when you disenchanted Siege of Orgrimmar gear. And if you had that, then you could. It's a more expensive cooldown, but it doesn't. It's a more expensive item to craft, but you don't have the daily cooldown hang up. So you could buy your way out of the daily cooldown time gating, but it made the piece of item kind of twice as expensive, more than twice as expensive. So it was kind of a trade-off. Mostly
Gross.
you're governed by the time gating, but you didn't have to if you could buy out of that system.
Incidentally, I just peeked at all my characters. You can find out how much gold you've had across your character going into pressing Y, achievements, statistics, and it says total gold acquired. It's only for that character, though. I just went and checked across all my characters. I've owned total across my years 200,000 gold, roughly, give or take. And I'm sitting at 20k, and I'm going, what the heck did I spend 150,000 gold on? Because, I mean, I know I just spent 30k on the Vial of the Sands. I don't remember what else I've spent that much money on. Anyway, let's move into the mailbag. Moving on. Problem I have with real money is I don't remember what I spent it on.
Come on.
Welcome to the mailbag. You can send your emails to thecastbar@gmail.com. Send us a tweet on Twitter @CastbarPodcast. And you can call and leave us a voicemail, which we still never got one, by the way. Someone call and leave us a voicemail. Tell us. I don't care. 508-738-2278. I mostly need to know because I want to put one on the show because I've not tried to put one on the show yet because I don't have one. So I don't know how well or not well that would work when I try. So leave me a voicemail. Leave us a voicemail. Call and say something. Something appropriate that I can air on the show. Thank you. Our first question comes to us. Our first and only question comes to us from Duncan J. And he says that New Year's is coming. Do you guys do any New Year's resolutions? And if so, are you going to do any for Warcraft? My New Year's resolutions personally are normally pretty simple. Do you guys do New Year's resolutions life-wise, not even Warcraft-wise?
I do not, mostly because a New Year's resolution seems like an easy way to guarantee you're going to fail at whatever you do.
Aww.
So if it's near the end of the year and I decide I want to do something, I just go ahead and do it and not wait for the new year.
Well, people will be like, get fit, and that's the most common one. So, right after New Year's, they make this resolution to lose 50 pounds by the next year or whatever. And so you'll constantly see the pictures and the memes of the gyms packed with people in January. What about you, Evan? Do you ever do New Year's resolutions?
Generally, no. Kind of for the same reasons, Florian, also because I don't know. I'm a hipster, and it's too cool. It's too cool, so I don't do that stuff.
I really want to smack you right now, but I can't. And my New Year's resolutions, if I ever do one, people always try and pick big things, and I'm like, no, that's way too big. In my mind, New Year's resolutions should be something that I know I might possibly do.
Right.
Save money and have $1,000 in the savings account by the end of the year. That's something that I know I could do. That just means, buying lunch one less time a week and bringing some food instead.
That's the perfect and fits the spirit of the New Year's resolution and attainable. That sounds like a good idea.
But I often find people doing these New Year's resolutions, and I'm just like, nope, I know you're going to fail at that. There's no way. I'm going to run a mile every week, and I'm like, while that's not that large, I know you. You hate running. You are not going to run that mile this week, much less 52 times this year. Sure enough, doesn't happen. As for Warcraft New Year's resolutions, I'm not even sure if I'll be online for Warcraft during New Year's.
Well, yeah, you can still have your resolution for the year to come.
What
Yeah.
even entails a Warcraft resolution?
Well, here's my Warcraft resolution. I don't do resolutions in real life, but I'm pretty serious about my Warcraft New Year's resolution because that's not cool. Nobody does that, so I'm all on board.
Okay.
I look at the year past, the year gone by, and then I look at the year ahead too. And these whole year gone by, the past 12 months, I don't think I've really done any endgame PvP. I don't think I've stepped into a battleground once at max level, except for doing my legendary cloak quest. And PvP used to be something I really enjoyed, so I'm thinking in this year ahead I'm going to do more endgame PvP, especially because we've been talking a lot about endgame PvP in this expansion, and once you get past the first couple weeks and you're waiting on raid night, there isn't a whole crazy amount of stuff to do in game. So maybe I'll just fill that time with some PvP and see how the game's changed with the ability squish and everything. Check out some of the new battlegrounds that I missed because I didn't play very much Miss Pandaria at all, and then try to find that old bloodlust that I used to have back in the olden days.
If you need an arena partner, let me know.
Good, yeah. Maybe that would be cool. We got our voice chat already on point. It seems like.
I love arena. Like, I personally do not enjoy battlegrounds that much. Arena, I love though, mostly because like you grab a person, you jump in queue, it takes like 60 seconds to 3 minutes to queue, and the match is gonna take 2 to 3 minutes. It's just like instant gratification.
Yeah, all my memories seem to be from trying to do arenas on Monday during Burning Crusade Season 1 and having queues take 10 minutes. But I guess that was just the procrastinator's penalty.
But if you're serious about that and you want to do arenas, let me know. I will boost a tune on Horde if you want to play your DK. And I will just because I love PvP, I just don't like PvPing with people I don't know.
I understand.
And I can never get enough people to make a rated battleground group. So I end up not doing PvP ever because I want to do arenas or rated battlegrounds, but you need at least 10 people to do rated battlegrounds.
Right.
And
that's a generous offer rather.
So let me know, because I still don't have a mage or a druid for that matter, both of which I know are fun and good in PvP, and I will make one.
Intense.
So your resolution, more PvP for the year. Florian, if you don't want to make one, you don't have to, but Evan stepped up to the plate.
I don't want to say what has already been said, but that would actually probably be mine too. I don't PvP nearly enough. I actually haven't stepped into a battleground probably since Burning Crusade, and I would like to do more of that. In addition to that, my secondary goal, which wasn't really a resolution, but I guess it might as well be one now, is to climb out of the depths of WoW poverty and become one of those guys who can hang out at the Black Market Action House.
Oh, so that's your unattainable one.
Well,
you don't know Florian all that well. Maybe he has it in him to be one of the best.
Auction house tycoon that's too lazy to be a tycoon.
Well, I'll never know unless I try. So
I wish you luck, seriously. I would like to do the same thing because there's been rumor going around that they've updated the Black Market Auction House to have things like that orange Zul'Gurub tiger from the original Zul'Gurub. Mm-hmm. Want that mount more than anything else. I would trade some of my very hard to get mounts for that one. I will trade multiple for that one. Give me that one.
Florian, the most gold I ever made on the auction house was over Miss Pandaria, and I was on my old enchanter that had tons of old world mats, and I had my Armory app on my phone, and just during work, whenever I had a not much going on, I just post a couple things in the auction house, nothing unmanageable. I didn't post everything all at once, but in that Armory app, you have access to everything in your bags, everything in your mailbox, and everything in your bank. Just to put on the auction house. And the interface is so simple and easy, I definitely choose that to do all my auction housing rather than doing anything in-game. Then again, there are a lot of auction house apps that streamline the process for your game client too. But if you're just trying to get your feet wet, maybe you have a bunch of clutter on some of your alts, I'd recommend that as a place to get started.
I'll look into that. I do have the auction house app. I haven't used it extensively. I've actually downloaded an add-on called Auctioneer.
Yeah, that's the good one.
very useful for analyzing the market and finding what I can do. And I've already found a few places where I was able to flip items for some small amount of gold. I'm just experimenting right now, I guess, with some cheaper items, not any of the big BOE items or anything like that, just to just kind of build up some basic skill, and then eventually I'll see if I can apply those skills to more expensive items and try to become the Monopoly man, basically.
Cool.
I wish you luck. Yeah, I really do. I wish you luck. As for me, a New Year's resolution for me, blarg. I mean, I could say, like, get 700 fishing, because I've never had max fishing, but I'm already almost there, because I actually fish normally while we're recording, because that takes 0 brain power and 0 of my attention. So that'll probably be done, like, within the next couple weeks. I'm at 621 right now.
I got one for you.
What's that?
Get all of your alts up to level 100.
Well, I'm actually I don't keep low level alts, so I don't have a whole bunch of level 20s sitting around like you do. I have like my 690 pluses, and then I have one level 58 and one level 17.
Yeah, that's good to start with. See if you can do it.
Sounds like I'm spending $120 to make them level 90, and I will buy my resolution. Darn, I even read this question first, like before I even put it on the show notes, and I was like, oh, that's neat. Yeah, I'll throw that one up there. And now we're here, and I'm like, whoa, no.
Yeah, it's true. There are a bunch of cool achievements in WoW that you can kind of focus on trying to get. There's a really good New Year's resolution that takes the whole year is getting what a long strange trip it's been. You know?
Yeah, I already thought about that one. I asked my significant other, because she's trying to do it, and I asked her if she wanted me to do it with her across this next year, because, I mean, beginning of the year, the best time to start, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'll aim for. I shall actually care about the world events. I mean, Violet Project's pretty cool, and once you do it once, you never have to do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, fine. I, as part of my resolution, will aim for completing What a Long Strange Trip It's Been. I'm gonna regret this. Alright, moving into the review. Welcome to the review section. In the review section, we will review whatever it is we choose. Questline, a zone, a class, a spec, a dungeon, a raid, or in the case of this week, a battleground. I have a little bit more PvP talk this week than was actually put in the show notes whatsoever at all. But I guess it did kind of just rolled itself around that way between PvP people being banned and PvP talk, and now, alright, well, welcome to a PvP episode, people. I hope you haven't been too bored. If you're not a PvP person and we're about to review a PvP battleground, I'm sorry.
It's also kind of a history lesson, because Alterac Valley is one of the first battlegrounds we ever released.
That's right, it's true. But if you hate PvP, you're probably not going to enjoy the gameplay section that much, because the gameplay section is really going to be about what you do in this battleground. So there's a little excerpt here from Wowhead. I'm going to read this off real quick, and it just gives a little base outline of what Alterac Valley is, as well as what your goal is. Alterac Valley is a battleground players fight in a frosty Alterac between the Frostwolf clan for the Horde and the Stormpike Guard for the Alliance. It's a 40v40 battleground. It's won whenever you killed the opposing team's general, or they also have resources, and once those are reduced to 0, whichever one happens first, you win. 1 reinforcement is lost when a player on either team dies, 75 is lost when you lose a tower, and 100 is lost if you lose a captain, and a captain is not your general, it's different things. There's 2 mines that you can capture that'll give you reinforcements every 45 seconds. Killing players is really secondary. Your goal is to destroy the towers. Also, your main goal is really to kill the general. If you destroy a tower, enemy's general becomes easier to kill. You can also capture graveyards, which allows you to spawn in certain locations, whether it's closer to where you want to be, closer to the general, closer to a tower, whatever. And Alterac Valley was initially seen as a zone that was designed to be both a battleground and a questing area. And this was before Cross-Realm Battlegrounds. And so the games here used to last for days, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. There's still some quests you can do, but they've been really kind of cut down a little bit because of the way that the Battleground works now, as well as the way that PvP Battlegrounds in general work, queuing for them and stuff. And one of the most iconic quests, which allowed you to summon this giant big baddie elite that would help your team, has been removed. That's a quick little overview of what Alterac Valley is. We split the review section into 3 sections: ambience, gameplay, and lore. Ambience is how it looks, how it feels, how it sounds. Gameplay, pretty self-explanatory, and lore is, does this place have any story? So we'll go ahead and move right into it. Ambience, Florian, do you have anything that you'd like to say right out of the gate?
Well, to begin with, I'm going to be perfectly honest and say that I can't say that much throughout this review because I have never, until yesterday, I never set foot into Alterac Valley. When I found out we were doing this review, I went in there specifically to look around, play it a little bit, and find out what was going on. As I said before, I haven't battlegrounded in a long time, and this is one battleground I haven't done, so you'll get kind of a newbie perspective from me, from someone who is a novice to this battleground. As for the battleground itself, ambience-wise, it looks okay. That's
It's
really
old.
all I can say about it.
Well, yeah, it's really
clearly
old.
Like, I can look at it and I can see the vanilla practically dripping off of the trees. The textures don't look super great. Models aren't nearly anywhere close to what the standards of today are. But I can mostly forgive that because I know I'm looking at old content, and that's just the way things are going to be. They did a pretty good job of maintaining a consistent theme and a consistent style. Everything is very wintry, very northern. It looks like the kind of place where a clan called the Frostwolf clan would hang out. So, more or less, I think they did a pretty good job of, at least, if nothing else, making it consistent and making it look the way it was intended to look.
Okay. And, like, then the one of the problems that I have, especially with places like Alterac Valley, is, like, we've talked about this before. I don't know how difficult it'd be to literally just swap a texture out for a different one. But, like, with their old textures, like, especially the snow texture, it starts repeating itself so quickly that it starts to just look like this tile pattern. And it really sticks out. And I know the place is old and that's vanilla and all of that, but I feel that at some point we really need to update that because it really just grinds against everything else around it when there is this horrible copy-pasted looking pattern that's just a tessellation across something. The thing about this is that I personally had a problem with is that Alterac Valley's music is actually very weak. It's very, it's very appropriate, I guess. You sound like you're in a valley. However, for the most part, with battlegrounds and stuff, I feel I should have some sort of like war drums going on.
Right? Am I right? Did you refresh my memory when you kind of go into the relative captains, or the respective captains' lairs or whatever? Does the music kind of change upon walking in there? So you're walking around outside and you go through the valley in the middle, and then you come out and you go into the captain's little bunker or whatever, and then you have the epic music that starts the moment you walk in. I think the same thing happens when you walk into the general's strongholds on the respective sides too. I'm not positive on that, but I think you get that kind of. I remember that kind of that hair tingling crescendo, that you get when those really epic soundtracks start, and that happens. It's kind of triggered upon walking into those boss fights.
Right. And that is a saving grace. And also, when you walk in and attack them, you get their, whatever they say. I don't remember right offhand, come face your death, essentially. Which really even adds on to it. Unfortunately, though, something we'll talk about in gameplay is how the rush works. But otherwise, the music is just completely dead. But I guess that's okay, because, you're probably trying to focus harder on what's happening around you rather than listening to something cool. Although most of the time when I PvP, if I'm not PvPing with somebody via voice chat, I'm listening to like death metal.
Right.
Because the music is weak. Do you have anything to add on to ambience, though, Evan?
Well, yeah. The biggest feature of the map, as far as ambience that makes an impression, is the size of the thing. Comparing it to the other two battlegrounds that were released during Classic WoW, along with this one, which were Wrathy Basin and the Warsong Gulch, they were both pretty small. This is really big, so that makes the biggest impression right off the bat. The second part of it is the climate and how it fits in with the Alterac Valley zone and the actual game and outside of the instance world. The two entrances to the two sides, I think, are actually portals in game where you can go into the tunnel, and there are your frost wolves there are your dwarves on the Alliance side, and you're kind of getting in the mood of going and helping them fighting inside the valley walls, so to speak. And I think the build-up is actually pretty cool. I think there are a couple of quests associated with starting off, getting you your little insignia as a little trinket that used to be relevant back in the day. I don't know if you can still get it these days. You level up as you increase your reputation with those two factions. So it kind of set the scene, and I think one of the biggest features of the ambience back in the day was the fact that it was such a giant siege fight thing that Blizzard's been trying to recapture.
Oh no,
in Ashran.
It's awesome from that step. I mean, 40 people. I mean, it's a raid fighting another raid in this basically giant basin. Well, not basin, valley. I mean, it definitely feels epic, and like, unlike some of the other ones where, it's smaller groups, and once you all try and go out to the different objectives, you might only see one or two people at a time from both teams, whereas this one, you are almost always constantly seeing lots of people all over the place.
Right, and with Warsong Gulch, of course, there's only really one way you can affect the outcome of the game. You're either helping your flag carrier or trying to assault the enemy flag carrier. There are a couple strategies you can do, but as a solo person, there are a couple things you can do as far as camping the enemy flag and stalking out the base and acting as a scout, reporting where the location of the other player is. Wrathy Basin is the same kind of thing. There are a couple things you can do to affect the outcome as far as soloing different bases and doing a little bit of scouting work, this and that. With Alterac Valley, there were so many different ways you could affect the outcome of the game, and I'm not trying to delve into gameplay too much yet, but as far as the ambience, how that made you feel when you could go behind enemy lines, and the map was so big that you could really avoid contacting any of the other players. I mean, you try to stay hidden. You're killing wolves. You're going to the mines and killing kobolds, trying to retake the mines, and you're trying to backdoor the graveyards. All this really cool stuff gives you a feel that I think contributes to the ambience. That it's a much different kind of style of a battleground than the other two. So,
grade for ambience?
I'd like to give it an A, I really would, but it's changed a little bit since then because of the gameplay differences. I'm going to say that the original ambience, just because I've got my nostalgia in full effect, I'm going to give it an A because that was a really exciting battleground to be a part of, and it delivered an experience that is not replicated in really any of the other ones, and it'll always be an A-worthy in my mind.
You should try Torn Mill versus South Shore when you get the chance.
Well, that's a good idea. Here. Yeah. I still haven't tried that one out. Thanks for that reminder.
Florian, ambience grade?
I don't feel fair giving it a grade simply because I've had so little hands-on time with it.
Hey, first impression is the most important thing, or whatever that phrase is. First impressions last the longest. What is that? Anyway.
Whatever it is.
You know what I mean.
I would say my first impression is probably maybe a C+, B ish. I'll say B minus. It does what it needs to do. It's not super updated or modern graphics, but it doesn't need to be. And I'm sure it was impressive and huge back in its day in vanilla. So I'm going to give it some extra points for that.
Okay. Since I'm generally the dude who's always harsh on things, it seems, I'm actually only going to give it a C. And I am going to look at this from a modern standpoint. Instead of giving it extra points for it being old, I'm going to hurt it for being old, because I really want to see things have just like, it wouldn't take much to make this be really pretty again. They have a new snow texture that they've used multiple times. It's all over Frostfire Ridge, and it looks so much better than their old one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't know the tech. It might be much more complicated to me, but in my mind, I literally see them, like, I've seen them working on the game, like they've seen in their videos, and they literally have like a little paint tool that they're painting the road with, and I don't understand why they can't just select all this snow and go, look at this new one, paste.
Well, we were talking a while back about why they can't give us a bigger backpack, and they said basically it's so,
integrated into the code.
Integrated into the old code that you can't just go back. Well, I mean, you got to realize that it was built 10 years ago, and maybe nowadays with Frostfire Ridge, if they wanted to turn it into Lava Forest Ridge, they could do that probably pretty easily. But now you can't go back in time into these different places. I mean, it would be trying to like touch a Rembrandt, but the Rembrandt's made of Play-Doh, and Play-Doh doesn't take the oil paint very well. It's like you're mixing media almost.
What this purely is that this is a 10-year-old battleground. It's very small and very low priority. That is what
if that was the case, I don't understand why they wouldn't just retire it.
Because people still like it. I mean, it's iconic. You can't get rid of it.
I don't know if the Horde really likes it anymore.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But really, that's why. I mean, why cut out a battleground when you could just leave it in, even if it looks old, and people can still play it?
That's true.
I'm sure that what I'm describing is something that they could do, and it probably wouldn't be that hard. But the point is that people would have to do it. And so that's not worth their time right now.
Yeah, it's going to cost us a raid tier.
Oh, God. All right, so that brings our final grade on ambience to a B. And we'll move into gameplay. The gameplay has significantly changed from 9 years ago to today. It used to be... Did you play this in vanilla at all, Evan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
there are so many...
Did you get to play the 3-day-long Alterac Valley where you leave and come back for the same battleground after sleeping?
Right. Well, when it was released, I was still hanging out in Ashtonville. I'm a little gnome mage, leveling up slowly. It took me a year to level my mage from 1 to 60. But I had guild members who were in getting into the games and getting into the queues the day it was released, and then saying how awesome it was, and all that thing. And then eventually I was high enough level to make water for the priests that were going in, and then eventually I could get in myself, and it didn't really change too much from when it was released to the time I was able to finally play at 60. But yeah, I didn't, I have a lot of memories of playing the games. I don't have very many memories of winning or finishing the game, so I think that was very much the case. You queued up for the thing, you could probably wait 30 minutes or to an hour and a half to 2 to 3 hours in some cases to get in. It would say, you now have a invite to Alterac Valley 39 or 40. All of the instances had numbers in them, and I was on Illidan at the time, so basically we always had a couple of Alterac Valleys going at the same time, I think. Then again, you're asking what is essentially a high schooler at the time. I don't really have too many memories of the specifics, but I do remember all the gameplay, all the quests you could do, all the different things that you could achieve. I remember you could loot the enemy corpses and get armor scraps, meat. You could get meat off the players,
That's
which is weird. And
I chopped him up and took him home.
Little storm crystals or something, blood, I think, for the Horde side. And then you had like 3 different turn-ins at your base. You could turn in the armor scraps to give your NPCs better armor, or I think maybe to level up their character level. I think they start at 55. You could level them up to 60 or 61 or so. So upgrade their armor. You could use the blood to summon, like everybody knows, Rock Dalar, or not. That's the
bow.
That's the bow.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, but the big treant on the Alliance side, the big frost elemental on the Horde side. You could also rescue and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have played Alterac Valley and not really understood why the flight master just jumped up and started running home, or if they passed the flight master just running away towards the base. You could rescue these flight masters that were behind enemy lines and then feed them this meat that they would feed to their griffins or their wyverns, and then call in airstrikes on different, I think there are 3 flight masters that would call in airstrikes to 3 different areas. And then the last thing was that you could tame rams or tame frost wolves, and then also kill frost wolves if you're Alliance side, or kill rams if you're Horde side, to get their hides to make saddles. And then you have a little cavalry that would sweep up the main lane, and it would, really put the enemy forces off balance because they were pretty hefty.
Is that still a thing?
I think it is. I don't think they ever
I have never
removed any
seen
of
this
these.
happen in recent times.
Yeah, a lot of people, when the game started, half of them would just go up to start zerging the main line on the field of strife or whatever, and then a lot of people would just go directly to the bases to pick up these quests and start working on getting the cavalry together, this kind of thing. Because me being not so great at PvP, I would like to contribute by, making frost wolves or taming frost wolves, especially as a druid, because I could hibernate the wolf and then tame it without it beating on me the whole time. Yeah, it's cool stuff like that.
Okay. As for now, the game is much more simple. 600 resources, killing people, busting towers takes away resources, kill the enemy general, you win. And for the most part, people don't even bother with towers anymore. They just zerg to the general, and whoever manages to kill the other one first wins.
Right. I think nowadays, if you capture a tower, does it reduce the general's health, or does it actually take away one of his ads?
I don't remember. Because, like I said, it's so irrelevant now. The gameplay for it has been reduced to who has more paladins, who has more paladins and can run there faster, and who can kill the other general quicker. Also, are you Alliance because you win?
Yeah. Also, are you Alliance? That's a big strategy point right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not Alliance, you're playing Alterac Valley wrong.
Let's hear from Florian, his first impression of the gameplay nowadays, if he thought it was worth the queue time.
Gameplay-wise, it's pretty much what has been described. At least the games I was in were huge Zerg fests. It's pretty much just run at the other guys and kill them. I see from the way Alterac Valley is set up, where you can capture towers and capture graveyards, and you have offensive graveyards you can use to set yourself up to attack better. I see where there's a lot of strategy and tactics that could be in there. I don't know why that doesn't happen, or if maybe you said there were some changes made, if maybe the changes had made the tactical part of the gameplay less relevant. But it seems like there's a lot, it could be a lot more than it is. And what it basically is, in my very limited experience, is a bunch of dudes running for the other side as quickly as possible to kill the general, or to just kill all of the guys of the other side and reduce their supplies to zero.
Did you have any kind of... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Did you have any kind of upsets where you guys kind of swept through capping bunkers and towers, and then had the enemies back cap you and reclaim those towers? And did you have to see people split off to go to try to recapture the towers and things like that, and having a little bit of struggle or a little bit of interaction, at least between Alliance and Horde? Or was it almost entirely both factions just passed each other, waving in the field of strife, and then went on to try to do their entire half the map alone?
There were some times where there would be a small contingent left behind to protect basically our side, or our base, I guess, and to try to slow the horde down while the rest of the group just zerged ahead. But all in all, I really didn't see that much tactics. Once again, I've only played a few games, so there might be this incredible depth to it that I just haven't seen because I got just a few very zergy games. And also, there might be a lot of it that I don't understand because, to be perfectly honest, I'm not the greatest at PvP. So I watch PvPs on videos online, and I'm like, hey, that's a pretty cool guy. He's killing all these dudes, but I really have no idea what's going on here.
Did you basically stay with your front line the entire time?
Pretty much. If there was someone telling people what to do, which there usually wasn't, I would just do whatever that guy said. But I was generally with the big group, just running ahead and just trying to kill the general and end the battleground.
I think this problem is mostly derived from the change in numbers. And what I mean by that is we can Zerg the general and kill him in like 60 seconds. The amount of time it takes to kill that general is so just irrelevant. It really is who got more people there quicker. Whereas before, it wasn't that easy. He hit really, really hard back then, and you could not kill him in 60 seconds. It would take you, like 10 minutes more to kill him, Evan?
I mean, compared to the back in the past, or what are you saying?
Yeah, I knew it took an extensively longer amount of time to kill him back then than it does now.
It just depended. Back in the day, there were the 4 tower objectives on the way to the boss, and they all represented a lieutenant that would be with the boss and could not be pulled separately. So you either had to capture those towers, which would remove those lieutenants, and you could fight the boss on his own, which would take 3 to 5 minutes. But more often, if you didn't have enough people, he'd wipe everybody and get reset. Or if you didn't have enough people, if your tank died, you couldn't keep them alive. It's just like a raid boss. You'd go and wipe everybody, So it usually required a couple of attempts. So by the time we were able to infiltrate the enemy base and capture the relief hunt or the aid graveyard and start attempting the boss, that could be an ordeal that lasted 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure on that, because you can kill him super quick now.
Yeah, definitely. And that might be a result of the squish and people becoming vastly more powerful than the boss, due to having multiple raid tiers that everybody kind of access to, rather than in the classic WoW, where there were 3 raid tiers during the original game, but a lot of people didn't ever see the second 2.
Right. Well, that really actually covers gameplay pretty clearly. Florian, your first impression gameplay grade?
My first impression gameplay grade is, I'm going to say a D, just because, it looks like it's set up, and it was obviously designed to have much more complex gameplay, but as you said before, it just ends up being everyone just run at the other guy and try to kill him before they run at our guy and kill our guy. It seems more of a race than an actual battleground, and I don't feel like I'm having much of a battle. So based on my immediate impressions of the way the battleground is now, I'm going to say a D.
Evan, rose-colored sunglasses gameplay grade.
Well, since they changed the gameplay so much, I can't speak for how it used to be. Right now, I see exactly where Florian's coming from with the D grade, but after having played it with this kind of iteration for a couple of expansions, I do realize that there are some kind of strategic points in there, so I'm going to bring that up to C, because although it isn't the same as it used to be, there are strategies and there are ways that make the gameplay a little bit more have a little bit more depth than might be expected from the first couple playthroughs.
And my grade is going to be a D as well. The reason for this is because there are battlegrounds that have much simpler objectives that are along the same lines that get a lot more... Food is not the right word at all. I think I might be hungry. They get a lot more attention than this one does. This one, everything is ignored. For the most part. I mean, give or take the occasional people that actually try and do something, but really everything is just ignored in this, where there are ways to ignore stuff in other ones, and they are given a little bit more credit. Which is going to put this at a D+, whoop-de-doo. And Evan, take our first steps into lore.
Well, the biggest thing I remember about lore when I was playing as a Horde in Classic WoW was that Thrall was a Frostwolf. That was his clan that he'd come from. And now with all this exposure in World of Draenor, the Frostwolf clan, it kind of, I don't know, we have more of an idea of who the Frostwolves were and what they're doing, but that doesn't give me a better idea whatsoever about what the Frostwolves were doing in Alterac Valley. I feel like this is a line toward conflict for the sake of conflict, kind of like the Warsong Gulch. I mean, we could talk about the lore of Warsong Gulch, it being a resource battle between the Silverwing Sentinels and the Warsong clan.
Different review.
This seems like kind of the same thing there after the resources in Alterac Valley. I guess there's a lot of snow there to make snow cones.
Resource. Well, we don't know what's in the mines. All we do is get resources from the mines. We don't necessarily know what's in them.
That's correct. And I think it was kind of like a mineral resource area. You know, come to think about it, Arathi Basin was all about resources too. I think this is the only thing the Landlord really ever fight about. There's never like any moral concerns. Like, we're not fighting in Alterac Valley because the Alliance has been torturing kobolds, and we don't think that's right. It's basically just, I mean, this is what Classic WoW was kind of about, having a lot of cool. It's a industry breaking game, totally new. Everybody loves playing WoW. Like equipment system, reputations, character depth, talents, different classes, races. It's really exciting. The actual content is kind of dry and two-dimensional, at least in this era. It's kind of a relic at this point. Yeah.
The other thing on this easily could be that this one might be less about resources and more about location.
Mm-hmm.
It is a easy place to, like, this is a connecting valley. This is a prime place to transport things, which neither faction is allowed to use because the other one's in the way. So that is one thing that I could see in it, just because of it is a prime location for what an army might need to do. Because, you know, going through the mountains with this beautiful valley is better than going around. I mean, and remember that while in the game, Alterac Valley doesn't exactly take up a whole lot of space on the map, it does take up a very large amount of space in lore terms. So that might be something that all of this is derived from a little bit, of that it's based around the best transportation spot through the mountains. I do find it odd, though, what you're saying, though, with the Frostwolf clan, because, like, Drekthar, I hope you guys at this point know who Drekthar is, if any of you have played on Horde Side 4 or Warlords of Draenor. He's the actual general for the Horde side, and that's not a small person. And it's very interesting because it raises questions of, like, what's he doing there?
Right.
It's good to know you're still alive, buddy. And then the Alliance comes in and kills him. So, like, the question for lore, though, is that, like, technically, because Battlegrounds don't have, like, a full-on lore hook to them, and I don't believe we've ever established who's won or lost any of the Battlegrounds, in story terms, you know, like, technically, this should have only been like a one-time fight, relatively. I mean, it might have taken a couple years. But, you know, someone should have won, and then that story goes on. We still get to play it because of gameplay, but I don't believe it's ever established of who actually wins or loses any of the Battlegrounds on things like this. So, I mean, the Alliance General is Vandar Stormpike, who I have no idea who that is. I've never heard his name before. But if it ends up that Horde loses and Drekthar dies, that's an important piece of information right there. However, Florian, newbie lore speakage.
Well, there isn't that much lore that I can discern inside the battleground itself.
Welcome to
also
PvP.
Because once you go in, you get kind of busy with the whole fighting thing. But I did a lot of Googling and looked up the backgrounds on these guys. So you've got the Frostwolf clan, who has taken up residence in Alterac Valley. It is their home on Azeroth, where they choose to live. And apparently these bronze not Bronzebeard.
Stormpike.
The Stormpike. Yes, that is what they are called. Thank you. The Stormpikes are coming in to colonize the area, and they want to do some of their traditional dwarf pastimes like mining and searching for the old Titan relics that the dwarves like to collect. And apparently the Frostwolves saw this as an invasion on their land, and they launched an attack on the Stormpike guys. And then, of course, since the rest of the Alliance is allied with the dwarves, they all get pulled into it, and it becomes a big mess. And
So the Alliance are the bad guys, per the usual.
in this case, yes, it started with the Stormpikes going in. However, the dwarves, the Stormpikes believed that they have a claim to this land, and the King of Ironforge also, he was the one who originally gave the order to go into this area because he believes the Kingdom of Ironforge has claim to Alterac Valley. It's never explained why he believes he has a claim to it, but he does. And that's what started this whole mess. So, yeah, it's pretty much Alliance imperialism trying to keep the poor orcs down.
Oh. Well, you just gave us reason that we didn't have. We were trying to think of the reasons for the lore, and thank you for presenting it to us. Congratulations, you win! Yeah, that was much better than I expected, so yeah. Most of the time I try and guess at PvP lore, and he just straight up gave it to me. I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, I'm reading a little bit of the quest text here, and I'm corroborating what he's saying about Frostwolves wanting to drive the Stormpike out after having them been they were invading a little bit, it seems like. And I'm thinking that there used to be a book, an in-game item, a book that you could get from one of the Frostwolf or the Stormpike reputation quartermaster that had a little bit more background about that. And I'm trying to find the item, but it's hard to find it because I think it's been since removed. But I'll keep on searching.
In any case, I'm going to give the lore a C. And that's just because I really don't like having questions such as Drekthar. And I'm not going to include that, it doesn't have any resolution because it's really hard to give PvP zones resolution because of, maintaining them as an option for battlegrounds. I am appreciative of Florian giving me the lore, but it's still kind of meh to me. Yeah. Get to C. Evan, how about you?
I give it a B. They are bringing in a whole lot of the different race elements of the different factions. Maybe not a whole lot. You have the Stormpike Guard with his dwarves, and then they have I'm sure this isn't the Cenarian Circle, but they have Night Elf Druids trying to summon the Treant guy. And the Frostwolf side, they have the Wing Commanders and all that, and they're trying to I think the Earthen Ring, but I think it's just some Taurens trying to summon the Ice Elemental, and that's cool. But I think what kind of sells it for me is that Blizzard was really kind of ballsy putting Drekthar in here, one of their kind of heavier hitting WoW lore characters from, I guess he was in Warcraft 3, or maybe earlier in that, Warcraft 1 or 2. And the Frostwolf clan, their clan is the big clan in the bottom here. I think that was a pretty good move, and I think it was trying to spur up some, familiarity with the whole thing. And, I can't knock him for making a risky move there, even though it seems to be a little bit irrelevant at this point and kind of confusing. We talk about continuity a whole lot with different expansions and how they interact with each other. But, I mean, as a standalone thing, I like the battleground enough that I'll give it a C for lore overall.
All right. And Florian?
I'm going to have to go for a C as well, but for different reasons. I liked the story that was going on, and I actually, once I looked into the backstory, I found it interesting, and I liked the different conflicts between the races and their reasons for having their claims on Alterac Valley. The problem was that it just isn't presented well in game. Anytime I have to go to Google to answer just the basic questions about lore, such as what is going on here and why am I even here. That's kind of bad, So while it's really interesting lore and I like it, I'm gonna have to give it a much lower grade than I would have because it's just not presented well.
Well, and I think it's meant to be presented through the quests, but the quests have been drastically minimized and some have even been removed. And then also you have the problem of that you just queue for PvP, whereas you used to actually have to go to where the PvP battleground was. And that would give you more insight possibly around what was going on in that area. But no, it's definitely true. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be a problem that we have whenever we review anything that's PvP related, especially battlegrounds, because they are a little bit harder to present with lore because the purpose of PvP is just for us to fight one another. They try and give it lore reasons, but I mean, in really reality, it's less focused on than a raid or anything else like that because it's just less presented lore. But no, I definitely understand. I don't like having to Google things either, and that's why I enjoyed speculating. But I still do appreciate the clarification. That brings our final score on Alterac Valley to a C. And I think this lower grade is purely just because of the degradation that has happened to everything that this battleground originally used to be. I mean, the ambience and all of it has just started to just crumble down because of just that. It all just comes down to what the gameplay has devolved into, and that's just this rush. And I think that's the reason for everything else being pulled down with it. There is no more lore really in there anyway because you're not there long enough. It's just jump in, kill the general, leave. Ambience, again, all of this awesome stuff that's around there with these objectives and all that for gameplay purposes as well, it's all ignored and just looked over. And even though this is this big 40-man beautiful battleground, completely looked over because everything that's in it, all of the quests, all the NPCs, everything, all of it has just been brought down to the level of just rush them as fast as you can because that is actually the most viable strategy anymore. Do you guys have anything to add?
Well, yeah, I'd like to see a revamp of the same battleground with the new textures. You made a really good point. Frostfire Ridge has a lot of the same kinds of textures. Of course, the Frostfire clan kind of recognized it as kind of similar to their ancestral home. I think that'd be really cool to see it kind of redone with a makeover there. And like some faction balancing geography, maybe, so that we're not fighting the Alliance against this big old bottleneck bridge. I think that's one of the biggest features.
For those of you who don't know, Horde pretty much never play Alterac Valley because the way that the land is designed, Alliance do actually have a very distinct advantage. At least with the gameplay the way it is now. With this rush mentality of that just being the best way to play, Alliance have a single bridge that is very small and very high that is the only way to get to their general, and they just sit behind it and win because you can't get through them. I mean, especially when you have like 3 classes now that have blowbacks between, I know that Druids and Shamans both have Thunderstorm and Whirlwind? No, that's not it. Typhoon?
Mm-hmm.
That can send people flying off the bridge. There's just so many ways to just be so rude as an Alliance player. You just sit on this bridge and just say we win.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a big geographic feature that in favor of the Alliance. And so if it was more, I guess, what's it called when reflection symmetrical? Yeah. Then I think that would bring more Horde people to the table. And even like a little bit of a revamp like they did with, I think it was Wrath of the Lich King, where they introduced the new mechanics and everything for how the game is won. That would be kind of welcome and fun. Just like they're doing with Ashran, trying to say it used to be great. It kind of isn't so great now. Let's see what we can do to bring it kind of up to date.
Right. Florian, any last thoughts on that final grade of a C that you'd like to add in?
Nope. I think I've pretty much said my piece on the matter.
Incidentally, my little sound player and stuff that I play all our music and stuff through got additions. I'm not sure what sound these guys make, and I'm going to test them now. So if you do not like us reviewing PvP stuff or talking about PvP stuff or whatever, you should let us know. So, call us and give us a...
You suck. You guys suck.
It's Duke Nukem. Anyway. So, yeah, I mean, this is still a part of the game. I understand you might not be a PvP person. If you're not a PvP person and you're not a lore person, this was probably pretty rough for you. I'm sorry. We'll probably go back to something else next week. It's just, this is all part of the game. We all love it. I'm very big into PvP. Evan seems to be interested. I'm not sure where Florian is on PvP, but definitely just, feedback is good. I need to know these things so that we can make changes.
Yeah, we don't have the heart to tell Michael things that we think are bad, but you guys do because you're anonymous.
They actually both hate me. They just don't have the spirit to tell me.
I'm trying to get famous. Stepping stones over here.
I'll let you do the work. You set up everything. You record it and edit it. I'm just gonna talk so that I can be awesome.
Oh no, guys, we'll discuss this off the air.
Oh, okay. But that's the end of the show, everybody. Thank you for listening. I hope you participated in our giveaway. If you are just now listening for the first time and you missed the giveaway, I'm sorry. I am sure at some point we will be doing more. I do not have any information as to when. If you have any suggestions for any fun contests or anything like that, please let us know. I am always open for ideas. You can send any of that ideas, suggestions, or just feedback or questions that you'd like us to talk about on the show to our email at thecastbar@gmail.com. Or even send us something on Twitter, at Castbar Podcast, or call and leave us a voicemail that I can play so that I can make sure that that isn't broken and works properly on our show, at 508-738-2278. Currently, all of our shows are available on iTunes and Stitcher. If you would like to have them available in a different form, please let me know where you would like them. We currently don't do live shows or even video record, so I could put just the audio on YouTube if you would like. I am currently not doing that. If you would like me to do that, please let me know. If there's anywhere else that you would like this to be posted, that you think it would be a good outlet for us or that is more convenient for you, also please let me know. All of the music for our bumpers, minus the little sounders, like the gong and the cheering and stuff, all of the actual music is done by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incomtech.com. His work is, I believe, almost all of it's royalty-free, which means you can use it and credit him to it during whatever you're using it for, or you can buy it from him for a set price, then you don't have to give him credit for it. I'm running on freeze, so if you would like to get a hold of me, you can send me an email at thecastbar@gmail.com and just direct it to my attention. I also have my own personal Twitter, which is at SchwanMichael. Evan, where are people able to talk to you at?
You can hit me up at thecastbar@gmail, of course. Just sit to Evan, I think Michael will get that. And also on Twitter, you can find me at EDCWow.
And also his personal phone number for anyone who wants to model them is 555-0123. Florian, where can people get a hold of you at?
They can also email me at the Castbar's email address, just like all of us. And they can also hit me up on Twitter at Phalanx, spelled F-A-L-A-N-G-X.
Thank you for spelling that, because that is not spelled like the word. And everyone, thank you so much, and just have a good day. And also, just if you're still listening and you haven't turned it off yet since it's the end of the show, Steve Giolini, Steve, let us know how I can give you this RG pet that you have won. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you had a good holidays, and we're going into New Year, so Happy New Year, and we will see you in 2015. Take it easy, guys.
You are out of time.
Seriously, are we gonna do this? Is this what the Horde has come to? I need to speak to Vol'jin about this.